are delusional when we talk about our own abilities and our own skill set. The productivity gap between us and the US is probably about 1 to 40. To be able to produce a mug efficiently, I might need 1 US technician.
Okay.
I would need 40 here.
What was your biggest obstacle that you had to overcome?
The obvious one is finance. The second one, I would say, is more like people. We like good things in Nigeria. We like good things, but we want to accelerate. We want to leapfrog into good things without the discipline of getting there.
Why Nigeria? Because you said you were... Why now say I want to solve an energy solution and come all the way here?
In doing the research for the study, it became clear that the problem with Nigeria was infrastructure, not supply. But Nigeria could do a lot more. Africa could do a lot more, right? The aspect of energy is most important, but there's also value addition beyond energy.
Yes,
that we haven't even begun to look at.
We know what we have in terms of resources. It's everywhere. We say it all the time. I get tired of hearing it everywhere I go, to be honest. Where is that disconnect, in your opinion, to say, listen, how do we move from potential to now this is the reality where we are?
The challenge is in the sheer amount of time, the sheer amount of frustration, the sheer amount of unnecessary, I want to use civil words right today, so bureaucratic nonsense that you have to go through in order to be able to achieve simple steps. And for me, that is that's the downside of people trying to genuinely do things here, right? But the opportunity remains huge. And because there's this productivity gap brought on by all these roadblocks, unnecessary roadblocks, the gap keeps widening, irrespective of how people see achievements.
Thank you so much for coming, Mr. Felix.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Or how would you like me to pronounce your name, or what do you want me to call you?
That's
Mr.
what you said is fine.
Mr. Ekundayo, I like that.
Not at all. Felix is fine. Yeah, Felix is
Thank you so much. I think the first thing I want to know, when I read about you, and I've been in a lot of your speaking engagements.
Okay.
I've heard you speak, and when you were in
NLCGA.
NLCGA, yes, exactly.
Which I transitioned to.
Yes, a lot of people still make that error. You know, you made such a great impact then. So we still think you're the president. Through all the innovation, through everything you've done, you know, the first thing that came to my mind is, how did you stumble into energy? How did you get into this sector of ours?
Okay, that's an interesting question. It's far away kind of question. To be honest, I always wanted to do something technical, even from when I was younger. I wanted to. I started off thinking of aeronautical engineering, and then my parents were concerned enough about it to say, "Look, you just be a mechanic as far as things are concerned. The aviation industry in Nigeria is not well advanced enough. Think of petroleum, because Nigeria has petrol." And think of it that way. So I always wanted to be an engineer. I thought, okay, that's not a bad idea. And from then, my focus was on really something petroleum related. So during my application for uni spaces, I went for chemical engineering. And I was fortunate enough to get in as a chemical engineer. I worked there, but I always wanted to balance it with business because my mom was always an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Right. So I always wanted to balance it with business. Even working as an engineer, I kind of thought of how to dabble in other things. So I worked for a number of years as an engineer, like ICI, BP, things like that, Foster Wheeler, which is actually where I started. And there came a point I got to. Again, I was getting bored because I like engineering, but I wanted to do something more. And I had done an MBA in the intervening time between uni and starting work with Foster Wheeler. So the MBA it really gathered dust for a while on my shelf. So by maybe after 11 years in engineering, I had the opportunity to cross over. I went for an interview with another branch of the same company I was working for a company, Bechtel, in Hammersmith in the UK. And I heard, so I was working as an engineer on the 5th floor, something like that. And they had an interview on the 6th floor for consultancy, to go into an energy consultancy called Nexant. And that's how I transitioned from just doing pure engineering to energy consultancy. And then at that point, I now have engineering and I have my MBA. So the two combined to give me finally where I wanted to be. You're thinking about how to build things, but you're also thinking of the economics of building things.
Exactly.
Right? So that's really what finally led me into a broader part of the energy industry.
That's interesting because I'm a fellow chemical engineer, as I said earlier. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I should have studied chemical engineering. It was tough.
Yeah.
But the good thing is it gives us very analytical brains. And that pivot is easy to make once that is. But it was quite a tough course. But and that leads me to, why Nigeria? Because you said why now say I want to solve an energy solution and come all the way here with so much great problems, I would say. And, why would you not just continue where you were and, eventually moved here and thought to say, listen, let me solve this issue?
Naivety is probably what you would say. You assume that things don't work because this solution doesn't exist, but it's not quite the same in Nigeria. But I'll get to that in a minute. Yes, chemical engineering was quite tough, but it's versatile.
Yes.
So one of the things that I say to people is that when ExxonMobil used to recruit in those days, and they had a matrix, and the only job, so they'll list all the subjects that you took. Right, whether it's geography, whether it's this, and the departments that you could go into. And Chem-Eng was the only one that applied across everything, including law, including all things that you didn't study. So it gives you the analytical part of it, and that helped also in the energy consultancy side. Nigeria always was attractive. At the time, the folks were here, and just myself and my brothers were abroad.
Okay.
So we were always looking at coming to do something back home. We tried hands in things like commodities. What can you do to add value to products in Nigeria?
Okay.
Right, rather than things that you just export.
Yeah.
So right down to even ginger exports. My master's was on my what you call it? The dissertation was on the export of bananas. Right. So it was always something to do with, look, how do we add value to the economy here? So it wasn't necessarily about something in energy. But how did I come here on energy?
Yes.
With Nexant, I was in the gas and downstream sector, and used to do work around the world. So you got to see a lot of different things, a lot of different projects, sizable projects, mega projects. And it always struck me that, look, most of these guys have about the same, okay, in some cases a lot more gas, but about the same amount of gas. But they were a lot more focused, a lot more deliberate about how they wanted to monetize their gas. And quite frankly, at the time, we just weren't saying anything. We were happy flaring the gas. We were happy not adding value of any sort to it. By sheer coincidence, my phone rings one day. I get a phone call from somebody I'd read about, and who said, he'd heard about me as a consultant in Nexant, and they wanted to do something in Nigeria. It was the late Osase Osifo. And he said, basically, they are thinking of building a refinery in Nigeria. Would I like to lead the study? So that was this is an opportunity. That was one. But prior to that, myself and my older brother and a couple of friends had started looking at the gap in the LPG industry in Nigeria. And what struck us was the World Bank had asked for a study that year. I think it was like 2003. So Nexant bid for the work, but we lost it. We lost it by 0.3%. Right. And even in that 0.3%, there were two people ahead of us. So we were third with a 0.3%. Yeah. But in doing the research for the study, it became clear that the problem with Nigeria was infrastructure, not supply. Because we had a lot of supply offshore leaving the country, but the infrastructure in the country could not accept the size of cargo that we were exporting. So look, this is an anomaly. This just means that you need to build infrastructure. So that's the obvious, simple realization. The difficult part, and that's why I said why it's a little bit naivety that clouds everybody's judgment when you come here. The challenge is in the sheer amount of time. The sheer amount of time, the sheer amount of frustration, the sheer amount of unnecessary bureaucratic. I want to use civil words right today. So bureaucratic nonsense that you have to go through in order to be able to achieve simple steps. And for me, that's the downside of people trying to genuinely do things here, right? But the opportunity remains huge. And because there's this productivity gap brought on by all these roadblocks, unnecessary roadblocks, the gap keeps widening, irrespective of how people see achievements, in quotation marks, of companies like ours. I don't see those achievements yet because I just think I look at it almost like the gap is widening. The gap is widening. Others are looking at it and saying, "Oh, you guys are doing so well," but it's smoke and mirrors to an extent, right? So I'd like to see a lot more than just these isolated
solution
pockets of so-called advancement or progress. I'd like to see a whole lot more than we have currently. But in the interim, fine. We'll take the accolade and we'll keep on doing what. Yeah, exactly. We'll take the win and we keep on moving.
Yes. Okay, thank you. And I like what you said about the bureaucratic process, which is why I'm going to ask. And maybe in the past, what would you say is like the biggest obstacle? I know there will always be something new, like you had to, especially at the beginning. What was you can remember, like your biggest obstacle that you had to overcome to get where you are now?
Okay, maybe I'll put this in 3 buckets. Okay. There is the obvious one, which is finance. So the ideas we were never short of ideas, but the obvious one is finance.
Okay.
So there's a big gap in terms of pool of capital and the understanding within that pool of capital, right? What do they know about your industry? A lot pretend to, but they don't really. Now, if you're anywhere else in the world, they will seed these financial institutions with actual practitioners.
Okay.
So you take a practitioner, train them in what you call it, in finance, or in insurance or whatever, so they understand, but they will man that desk.
Yes.
And then they help you manage the risk. So finance is one of them. The second one I would say is more like people, right? We like good things in Nigeria. We like good things, but we want to accelerate. We want to leapfrog into good things without the discipline of getting there. You want to be I don't know, I'll use an obscure anecdote. You want to be a black belt Kung Fu master, right? But your shortcut to it is just to buy the outfit. Right? You understand?
Yes.
You don't like the discipline, you don't like the training, you don't like any of that. So we get a lot of people coming in from you take in to train. They end up being halfway down their journey, right? Okay. And they assume or believe that they now know it all. And that's a dangerous place to be in, right? So having people stay and have the discipline to keep on improving on themselves is another. But those two, finance and the people side, to me, pale into insignificance compared to the sheer challenge, the bureaucratic side, the process, the authorities, the permits, the ease of doing business. It just doesn't exist. Everybody sees you moving forward or even standing still. I was told once that you're in a place where standing still, people will be congratulating you because they're being blown backwards, right? So that that aspect, right, is there's so many headwinds you're facing, right? And that, more than anything else, more than the other
Gotcha.
two problems, actually stop a lot of people in their tracks.
It's interesting you said that, because I had a team meeting not too long ago, and what I said was, if we stand still, there's nothing called standing still. It's either you're moving backwards or you're moving forward. Standing still is actually moving backwards.
Yes.
But I do understand when you're saying it, like the wind is hitting you. Typically, you staying stationary is actually like, it's actually...
Somebody was, to be honest, it was me lamenting and saying, look, with something that happened at the time, we'd had a stop work order issued. We had all our permits, we had everything. We had a stop work order issued. I wouldn't say which department or what. And we were locked down for 6 weeks, paying humongous amounts of interest on loans, but you couldn't do work. Why? Simply because somebody wants something, right? That they're not entitled to. If you have this at every stop, at every junction, what are you going to do? So I was lamenting about this. My friend says, look, even if you're standing still, right, people will still be hailing you because they're being blown backwards by the same headwinds that you're withstanding. So of the challenges and of the three that I mentioned, that particular one is the most important. And if they don't hack away at it, if they don't cut it down, if they don't spend time to eliminate all this friction, right? It's essentially, somebody calls it running in tar, right? You just can't move. The viscosity of doing business here is too high. You can't do it. If you reduce that, you will find that there are a lot more Asikos, or there are a lot more Felixes, or a lot more Damis, or whatever, right? And that's a better place for the economy to be in than all these parasites around one or two entities.
Yes, I love that. But before we pivot into something else, I would like to know what one decision you made that changed the trajectory of your business and everything. Just, it could be anything. What got you and got Asiko to where it is now? What would you say is the most, you can say it's a skill in this environment. What one thing would you say?
I'm not sure that I will put it into a bucket of one thing, right? Maybe it's just a mindset, as opposed to an occurrence at a place or a time, right? Okay. It's just a mindset. We've always been focused on the end goal, and that end goal has been shaped by experience elsewhere. So if you've seen, it's almost like a case of if you've seen the future, right? Your path to it is really what you've got to navigate, right? But you are going to get there. So we've been very singular about the future.
Okay.
All right. Our future as a company, nothing about that has changed.
Okay.
Right. And that consistency actually is what has helped us in terms of being able to progress. It's almost like you know yourself. You understand what you are, right? And you stick with it. Now you adapt. Yeah, you adapt. So it's not about saying rigidly you want to stick with an obsolete product. No, the idea for us from the very beginning was to be able to offer energy services, even if we started through gas. But the end destination was about energy and energy efficiency and so on. So we've kept true to that, and we've adapted as we've gone along. We started off as a gas company. We added power elements and so on, and then we're adding different other forms of gas. Okay. And then we didn't dilute the message. We were offered, look, diesel. We've got diesel. Do you want to start trading diesel? Do you want to start trading petrol? No, we don't do white products. We want to carry on this message of clean energy and clean and renewable energy, and that's really where we've been all along.
That speaks to me a lot. I like the focus. From what I'm getting, it's a lot of focus, but not afraid to adapt. Still focused on the end goal, energy.
Quite.
I'll take that. And talking about future. I really want to understand in terms of Africa, and I know your thought process is not just constrained to Nigeria. I know it's Africa as well, and we know what we have in terms of resources.
Okay,
we know everything. It's everywhere. We say it all the time. I get tired of hearing it everywhere I go, to be honest. To me, it sounds like potential.
Yes.
There's reality.
Yes.
where's the disconnect? Like for years, when I started in the industry as well, over a decade now, I've heard this. I still hear the same cubic that we have, resources. We still hear the same thing. There's been improvements. I agree. But in my opinion, it's not as fast as it should be.
Yeah.
So where is that disconnect, in your opinion, to say, listen, how do we move from potential to now this is the reality where we are?
This aspect, right, is, that's a great question in the sense that this aspect is so overlooked in terms of what potential does Africa have simply by being and by being able to transact with each other, right? Do you know how difficult it is to get money across to Niger? We have people who buy from us in Niger. Do you know how difficult it is?
I can presume, but
it's easier to send money to America. It's easier to send money to China, to India, than it is to get across to Niger or to get to Benin or to Ghana, for example. So if you're going across these countries, you actually have to carry a currency that is not African resident, right? So try and go to Ghana, you change your money beforehand, or you go and find somewhere to change money in Ghana to cash. But you've got GTB in I don't want to call out any particular brands. You've got Nigerian banks in Ghana, but you can't use your debit card in Ghana and debit your account in Nigeria or in Togo or anything like that, right? So it's not their fault. It's simply the fact that there are these barriers that were put in colonial times, right, that we have not overcome. And I'm using Ghana. I'm not using even the next two countries, because you could say,
okay, even West Africa.
It's in West Africa. It's Anglophone West Africa,
yes,
right, which is why I chose Ghana, right? Benin is next door to us. It's very difficult to cross, and even more difficult to transact, right? So when you have these kind of artificial barriers and borders and so on, you still get asked about yellow fever certificates. You can't travel without a yellow fever certificate. So you, the human being that was bitten by a tsetse fly, can't travel, but the tsetse fly doesn't get bothered. The tsetse fly can cross back and forth just by itself. Yeah. So many stupid rules, right, that applied at that time, but are no longer relevant. But because you don't have a leadership that's particularly concerned about trade, right? They're more interested in the taxation element of whatever you're doing now, not what it could be in future. It's not resolved. Going to Cote d'Ivoire, right? Just to get through passport control, just to get through all of those, is tedious.
Yeah.
Many people find it easier to travel into Europe, fly into Europe, to fly back into Africa. Yeah. Why? I'm a little bit of an aviation enthusiast. If you ever look at a map of where all the planes are flying, Europe is very densely populated. America, South America, you come to Africa and it's just really sparse, very sparse. The density of aviation, the density of shipping lanes, all points to trade, right? So, and even, when you look at Africa at night, a lot is dark. And so on. All of these things are indicators that there's no trade activity going on externally or intra or within. Right? So, having said all of that, there's a lot of potential. How do we see it going forward? All these other economies are growing. They're going to need energy. There are a few handful of countries in sub-Saharan Africa that are energy surplus. Nigeria happens to be one of them. Angola, Equatorial Guinea, the others. Yeah. Right? We certainly don't want to be laggards in that race. But unfortunately, because there's so much to be had, right? It's a Yoruba phrase. There's so much ilabe, right? It's just, as they call it, the phrase that I actually detest. This issue of a juicy appointment, a juicy department, right? It's so juicy. It's a very silly phrase, but because it's deemed to be so juicy internally, nobody's looking at anything else, right?
So it's like, sorry to cut you short. It's sounding like what we have is also a two-edged sword. Like, it's not helping as well, because people are just focused on what can be taken, not what can be grown again.
Yes. So the advantage that Nigeria has that everybody wants, is the population, is the economy. It's just there because there's a sheer consumer power that exists here. But we could also be a producer. We could also leverage our position to be a producer. Now, if you're producing and you've satisfied your own domestic market, you can then extend beyond. There are those that have leveraged and have industries across borders that emanated from Nigeria. The banks I mentioned before, and the one or two industrialists that I'm not particularly going to mention. But Nigeria could do a lot more. Africa could do a lot more, right? And the aspect of energy is most important, but there's also value addition beyond energy.
Yes,
that we haven't even begun to look at. So people look at, they talk about gas all the time, and I say, in fact, when we're talking about gas in Nigeria, the argument we're having is at the primary energy level, and primary energy to me is you take the material, you set fire to it. Right, you generate heat, you generate power, and that's it. But that's primary energy. You have the secondary and the tertiary, and that's really where the employment comes from. That's where the value addition comes from. And thank you very much to the studio team. This is made from gas, right? And when I say that to people, they're actually extremely surprised and say, "Oh, how?" It's not a byproduct. It's like a secondary or tertiary product from gas. When you now start to add and go into petrochemicals and the rest. So our food chain is made from agrochemicals, which comes from gas. It is only now that we're getting into it, right? But we're maybe 40, 50 years late. But late is not too late, right? But we then have to put our backs into it and accelerate that effort.
I like how you said accelerate, because you mentioned it earlier on and said people like to think when they've gotten to somewhere, they want to leapfrog and not go through the process. My question is on that word leapfrog. Now, do you think Africa or Nigeria, in terms of energy, there's infrastructure, there's everything, do you think we can leapfrog? I'll give you an example now. In Europe, now they're doing a lot of EVs and all that. They have set infrastructure for power and everything. To move up to the power required for the EV, it takes a lot of work because they have cables dug, they have a lot of, they have transformers that have to change. We need to get to that level anyway. So a lot of people say we need to just leapfrog to that and say, listen, just get the system ready for such rather than follow that process. So my question now is, do you think this is the right way? Or do we follow our process? Do we go through, without this argument, I think it's been settled that gas is also a form of clean energy.
Yes.
We've had this argument several times that no, it's no longer just a transition.
It's a destination, quite frankly. I was in the transition crowd because I always thought it was a self-serving argument from Europe and from the US, right, at the time. Yes, there is an environmental impact, granted. Yes, the contribution, right, of these fuels to it is disproportionate. However, your contribution to it is also disproportionate. So if we were to look at a cumulative contribution, yours is 99%. Yes. So we are only just beginning to pick up. Yes. So why do we then get to, first of all, have to pay the price of what you sowed? That's number one. That's the self-interest part. The more obvious part is that our energy per capita utilization is actually low. So we're not going to not develop because of damages you've caused, right? So it had to be a balance. The third argument is this. the OECD average in 2050 still shows 50% of energy comes from natural gas, 50%. So if the average for non-producing countries and producing countries is 50%, why would Nigeria, a producing country, be below 50%? Yeah. It's not going to happen, right? So that's that argument out of the way in terms of now, can we leapfrog? I think because we hit one home run, use a baseball phrase, right? Because we hit one home run, we think we can hit a home run every single time. Telecoms was a very different field, but you can leapfrog. Leapfrogging was about changing from wired lines to cell sites, but you still had to build the infrastructure.
Yes.
Right? The scope for leapfrogging in energy, in primary energy, generating power, is not that much. Right? You can't beam electricity to anybody. You've got to lay the lines. You've got to, build the power station, put the transformers in, and maintain them. Right? That needs to happen. But how do you leapfrog into secondary energy? How do you leapfrog into tertiary industry, actually converting and making this stuff that China exports back to us that's been made from gas that we sent out to them? How do you leapfrog? You have to learn the process. This is what I was trying to describe earlier, that by going out and buying a Kung Fu outfit doesn't make you a Kung Fu master, right? You have to have learned how, you have to have trained yourself in this. Mm-hmm. We've got a very young, untrained workforce, right? We have to get to the point where we train them, and we are willing to train them. They have to accept the training.
Yes.
And to accept the training, they have to see a future beyond training. Okay, you've trained me. What is the next thing? Are the jobs there? Do I get a reward in life from all of that?
Yes.
There's no shortcut to that. AI is not going to help you with that, right? So yes, we can leapfrog, but only to an extent. It's a bit of a fallacy to believe that you can do any more than that without doing the hard work.
The work has to be done. So I don't know if you heard about the CEO of MD CEO of MoneyPoint when he mentioned the workforce.
I started. So somebody sent me this video, and I started it, but I didn't get into it. So something about we don't have a workforce.
Yes, not. I think he's saying we don't have the people to carry out, maybe in his sector or in the sector he works in, to actually achieve what he wants. So he goes out of the country to recruit, developers and everything.
Yes.
And there was this back and forth online saying, the workforce in Nigeria, training, but there were people on the other side saying there are people that can do this job, they're just not willing to train them, or do you pay them the same amount you're paying the people abroad? What's your stand in terms of workforce?
I have a very strong stance on this. We are delusional when we talk about our own abilities and our own skill sets and so on, because like him, we've been through a number of employees.
Okay.
We're aspirational. Our aspiration is for the best things in life. Our commitment isn't for that. Our dedication is even lower than that, right? In terms of my ability to put myself through, to train myself to become a Zen master, right? It's not there, but I want the benefit. The productivity gap between us and the US, right, is probably about 1 to 40. About 1 to 40. So in order to be able to produce this,
yes,
right, I might employ one person. I'm being maybe a little bit dramatic in choosing a mug, but let's use that. To be able to produce a mug efficiently, right, I might need one US technician.
Okay.
I would need 40 here. The guy who's going to bring you the red paint is not going to be the guy who's going to bring you the green paint. Then you'll find it brought you the wrong shade of green paint, even though you specified the
Panto color.
The mug will not have a handle. And they will tell you that you can still drink it now, just take it and you can manage it. That's our process. It will take you 40 times as much long and in terms of resources to be able to achieve the same thing. It happens every day. We're trying to do so now. Bring it into the company.
Yes.
We've got.
Have you done it in Asiko? Have you?
We've got good people. Yeah. We've gone through this process.
Okay.
But the expectations are higher than the. I don't want to talk about our people, particularly in Asiko. I'm still talking generally in terms of Nigeria. The expectations are higher than their ability. Than the current ability. What is missing is the dedication to get to another level of skill and ability, right?
Okay.
There's this thing that talks about the power of incremental progress, right? So I always show people the chart where you do 1.01 to the power 365.
Exponential.
Yes, exactly. Exponential progress and the exponential reduction the other way, 0.99 to the power.
And when it gets a certain point, it's
by this one is 37 times, right? By this one is 0.0 something. It's almost erased it totally. Yeah. So where do you want to sit? You want to be exponential growth by doing something different every single day, so that you, by the time you apply that discipline, in a year's time, you'll be a very much different person. In 2 years' time, you'll be a very much different person. No, we simply like to look at what the end result is. And that end result is almost always monetary. It's a G-Wagon, it's this and that, without the process. So we need to be realistic. And so that's where I bring it back to this money point discuss. Yeah. We need to be realistic. We need to be aware of the gap, right, between ourselves and others. You can't be that if you don't have competition, if you're not exposed to competition. So a lot of our staff, at one point in time, jabbered, right? Accountant,
everyone, finance department.
We had 9 strong, 8 left, right? Ooh. So we were working with them, even abroad at the time.
Okay.
But with every single one of them, I mean, we have a very good, how do we say, alumni of Asiko people. But with every single one of them that went abroad, they suddenly they would come back and say, we now see what you were saying. The gap suddenly becomes obvious in terms of just, even in simple things like driving etiquette, all of those kind of things, right? Let alone the professional side. The gap becomes obvious. And that gap will never have been obvious just in me telling you, I can't describe it, an elephant to you, right? You've got to see it for yourself to understand the majesty of the animal and so on. When you are exposed, that starts to happen. We are not getting the opportunity to expose our youth enough. So what they see is the end result. What they see is the tip of the iceberg, the success that comes out of having me being an analyst and you being an analyst, me being a coder and you being a coder, right? And that is what a coder abroad enjoys. But the work output, you don't see. The process to get to that point, you don't see, right? You only see it if you've been exposed to it. And I think exposure is key, you know.
And I like this. And to be honest, that's one of the reasons why when we started the Energy Hack, I felt the energy industry was a bit, a lack of a better word, coded to the regular person on the street.
Okay.
We could understand a few things, but the regular person just knows power went off and they blame the discos or they blame, of course, everyone has a part to play, but they can't pinpoint what it is. And again, it's not their fault to do that. They're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Because they have their 9 to 5 that I probably don't understand.
Yeah.
You know, but we wanted to enlighten people a lot more. And I believe you saying and what you're speaking about, our audience will really, you know, understand that, listen, there is a gap. We need to, as employees, as citizens, upscale consistently.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny how we're improving in social media apps. We're building that in Nigeria. And most people tell you, oh, I know a lot, but it's what they see on social media. But that's something someone has pushed to you for a certain result. But you going out your way to say, I want to get educated in this is totally different from...
sorry to interrupt. And also to change individually, right? Just random examples. I still see people... we want power, but I see people plugging in bare wires into sockets. But that's going to cause some feedback somewhere.
Yes.
It's going to cause a short circuit somewhere. I see people changing over from one phase to the other, bridging. All of these matter. I see people, we've had situations where drivers drive trucks to our facility, sleep in the facility overnight, and somewhere in the night when the plant is shut down, they cut the armored cable supplying power to the facility, from the generator to the facility. Who does that? And which country does that, right? How do you expect... So when power comes in the next day, it either breaches, blows something up, feeds back into the network. We also have a lot of work to do on ourselves. We want clean streets, but you see everybody goes around and drops their pure water sachet.
Yes.
How are you going to get yourself clean streets when we're all dumping, and there's no amount of the sanitation that you can do to clean up 30 million people or 10 million people or 5 million people, whoever
that keep doing the same thing every
single day. So the self-discipline part, right? So when everybody complains about stuff these days, my thing is the self-discipline part is the first and most important things. The things you don't like, you stop doing it. You make sure 5-10 other people stop doing it, right? Then we move on from that. But because there's no immediate gratification, there's no reward for it, people are not interested, right? So there's an element of we desire good things, but we also have this self-discipline to get to that point. It's not all about leadership. It's almost a lot now rests on the individual because the leadership has clearly failed. So it's a lot actually rests on individuals and self-discipline.
I like that. Before I move on, I would like to dig deep into Asiko.
Okay.
Just touch on that. Asiko is a Yoruba term.
It is.
Our time is here, right? I'm guessing.
It is.
Yes,
you're spot on.
Yes. As a Yoruba boy, yes. Asiko is our time. And that's a very interesting name to give an energy company.
Yes.
How did that come about?
So at the time, my older brother and I were kind of trying to think about names for the company. And he said, look, I want something that sounds Japanese, right? But Yoruba. I want something that sounds Japanese, but Yoruba. And literally, after he said that, it was like 2 or 3 suggestions in, and Asiko popped up, and we both said, that's the one, right? And because it's moment, it carries a lot of connotations. It's moment, it's time, this, that, the other. So it sounded right. And if you look at our logo, it's an hourglass. True. Right? So the people don't actually,
I didn't pay attention.
The logo, Asiko's logo is an hourglass. Right. So it's all about this thing about time. And moment. So it was important to be able to say to bed it, regardless of what we're trying to do, bed it in Nigeria.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So, people hear it and might say externally, I might say, "Oh, is this Japanese?"
How do people actually pronounce it? No, Yoruba.
No.
What did they say?
No, because Asiko is a very simple word.
Yes.
They, like I said, because they assume it's Japanese, most people externally actually get it right first time.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. That's good. So since Asiko, so what time are you guys in Asiko right now? What's your time? You would just say from I know you've been into I know you're in the LPG. We're going to talk about some things in the industry just briefly on that as well. I know you're in the CNG space as well. I have a couple of questions about that too. But where would you say you are? What time are you on?
I would like to say I was never good at biology, and this may expose the fact that I was never good at biology. But the life cycle of a butterfly, right? You go through larva, pupa, and then that's the stage 4.
Yes. I think it's 4. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. Yes.
You know,
I think it's 4 or 5.
But that stage, the pupa stage, where you are the cocoon and you're about to come out. I'd say that's what our stage is. We've been doing a lot of work. Below the surface, beneath the surface, yes, our social media has been active talking about it. Yes. But the impact of what we're doing, I think, will come out beyond this period.
Okay.
Right. So once we finish with our project, which has been consuming a lot of time and a lot of resources, once we finish with that project, I think, yes, we'll be entering our butterfly phase, right? And we hope to be able to layer on to it. It's been a painful process. I'm not going to sugarcoat it in any way. It's been a painful process to get to this point. But where we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? So from that point onwards, finish the LPG terminal, add on to the LNG side, and we've got a couple of CNG projects. At that point in time, I think we'll get to the point where we say, okay, yes, we can now spread our arrays and fly.
Well, that's interesting to say, because some people, as you said, would think you're already flying.
Precisely.
But it's your vision. You know where you're going to.
Precisely.
So to you, you are still coming out, and that's amazing to know. So let's touch on this LPG. The industry has been having a bit of pricing and also scarcity.
Yes.
In your opinion, do you have a reason why that scarcity? We've been having that, and I know because of supply, of course, prices will also go up. Apart from what was happening all over the world, but I think in a month, like for a month now or so, there's been scarcity of LPG.
Yes. Okay. So I give a talk on this. I actually have a presentation I shared amongst some select few in the industry. Pricing, gas pricing particularly, and the mechanism of gas pricing was my specialization in terms of in Nexant. It's a fallout. Let me call it a fallout, not a specialization in Nexant. And you need to understand that markets are dynamic, number one, and you can't isolate the market, right? The effect will come through one way or the other. I think that the crucial thing that has happened, right, and it's an unintended consequence. I think the crucial thing that has happened is the entrance of the refinery. I don't want to give publicity or good or bad one way or the other. Is the advent of the new refinery and the quantum of production that they have, which is significant. And it's going to happen with another player and another player in future because others are coming up.
Yes.
Right? But where you have a market that's already balanced, right? The imports, NLNG is supplying so much, hinterland guys supplying, and new guys are coming in, right? But they're going to the bottom. So NLNG keeps getting pushed up. Yes. It's not the cheapest, but it's a consistent supplier. And then you're balancing it with imports. Everybody understands what the market is doing. Then all of a sudden you get a disruption. That disruption brings in a large chunk of volume, right? Mm. And that large chunk of volume suddenly kicks out all the imports, right?
Yes.
We demonize imports, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. Imports, exports, not necessarily a bad thing. You bring this large volume, so you suddenly go into what's called export parity, not import parity. Yeah. Import parity is more expensive, right? Because you have to add the freight. Export parity is less expensive because you have to take off the freight, right? You net off the freight. So you have this, the price drops. It's all part of the market. What happens when that big player pulls out or diverts those volumes
to something else?
Yeah. Suddenly you have a shortfall, right? That you can't fill immediately.
Yes.
Right? The guy who has been importing and took a haircut is not going to, on day one, he's not going to. On day two, he's not going to. Week one, he's not going to. Your inventories are going down, right? It's going to be week 3, week 4. Prices start to go up. That assures that when my cargo lands, I will make my margin. Not that I am sailing halfway across the world and then this large volume comes in again and I lose my shirt, right? You end up in this situation where, by nature, they're going to wait for inventories to be drawn down. Then everybody starts to panic. Everybody starts to think what's going on. Then the imports start to come in. So the cargoes are landing now. Yes. That's why the price is going down, right? But then they will oversupply. The nature is that the market is imperfect. They will oversupply. Then there will be too much gas everywhere. Then everybody will stop again.
Yes.
I think we're going to get into this resonance.
Kind of a sine wave up and down.
Up and down, right? I may be wrong, but I am predicting that's what we've entered, right? And until the only way you can get rid of that resonance is to grow the market.
Okay.
Then you get assurance of balance or the fluctuation does not really matter that much.
The uptake will be.
And the capacity. Yes. So if you grow the market, the refinery today is 50%. If you double the size of the market, the refinery is a quarter. Yes. So it's not that significant, right?
Understood.
That's how you kind of dampen the resonance. So I think it's going to keep happening, but people will panic. Oh, what's it? Then we'll forget when it's gone down, right? Then it will happen again, and people would now be coming up with different excuses and calling, meetings trying to solve the problem. But the real work that needs to be done is in growing the market, right? And ensuring that supplies are always ready and constant.
I have two things from that. I sort of have the answer of one, or sort of know, but I would like to have more clarity.
Okay.
In terms of the refinery pulling out, it's not necessarily pulling out. Something did occur.
Yes.
Was it pushed into something else?
Yes. Okay. Yes, you have the answer to it. It's not a problem in itself. They've pushed the LPG into making plastics. It's a value addition process, and it is necessary. It is a very necessary process. However, what should also happen is information in the market. Lack of information is what causes the panic. If you don't have information, you won't import. You will wait for signals from the market, and the only signal from the market that you can have is price. Right? So if they are going to say, look, this is what's going on. Our inventories are going to be at this level. If our petrochemical facility stops working, right, we will inform you. But in the meantime, this supply is dedicated to this. By the way, you do know that they're not the only ones that make petrochemicals. Element Petrochemicals were making petrochemicals all along. They have LPG going to them. They've done it quietly for 20, 30 years, right? And that process was managed. So why can't this one be managed?
Okay, understood. Got you. So second point is, it's a bit of a pivot, but it's since we're on this topic of LPG. I saw that you did LPG for transport and CNG for transport.
Yes.
From my knowledge, when it comes, we're very familiar with LPG more than the CNG, right? In terms of how we handle this product anyway, in general.
Okay.
The cost of CNG is way higher in terms of setup.
Okay.
From my, again, this is a question you can answer me back. Is it way higher than that of LPG? Why are we pushed more on the CNG for automotive than an LPG source? That's the question.
It's funny you mentioned this because we developed an infographic about 3 years ago. You did say I could use my phone, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. So we developed an infographic about 2-3 years ago. Gas in Nigeria is often misunderstood as one product. So if I ask anybody in this room now and I said, okay, I run my car on oil, what might your next question be?
It will be petrol.
Okay, that's an assumption because you know enough about it, but it could be diesel.
Yes.
Right. So the natural question would be which fuel?
Which we fuel, yes.
Nobody ever asked that question in gas. They just assume they know.
Okay.
Right? There are 4 products in gas. We just assume gas is gas. But no, there are actually 4 products in gas as there are so many other products in oil. Right? Each gas has its specific use. Right? And that's the challenge. So what you are asking, we went out and we said, look, we'll break it down for you. Cars, tricycles, I think generators and trucks, right? There are 2 types of gas, natural gas and LPG, just speaking broadly.
Yes.
And they've got different perspectives, right? Different characteristics, rather.
Yes.
And what each one does, you need to be aware of. So by the time we finish with this, right, we then say, what can you use each product for?
Good.
Right? Okay. So that matrix tells you, if it's a saloon car, liquefied gases, particularly LPG, are better.
Okay.
If it's a keke napep, tricycle, liquefied gases, simply because the energy density is higher.
Okay.
Right? So when you've got trucks, right, then compressed gases are better because they're cheaper. Not because the energy density is higher, but because they're cheaper. Okay. But you will need more. Right?
Okay.
So,
understood.
Do you understand?
Yes,
so you will need more of that.
Yes.
So if I fill the same tank with liquid, I get a lot more out of it. Yeah. So the applications, right? There's not we often think it's a zero-sum game. It's only one winner at the end of the day, but you really just need to understand what I'm applying where. Okay. And that's why we developed that matrix so as to share. So I'll be happy to share
that would be, yes. Because some people think, and that's why I'm happy we're having this discussion, is 1 is based on setup cost. 2 based on also these decisions are made on setup cost and also on, so say we take LPG and that's what we start using a lot for vehicles now. What happens to our supply? What happens to the price? They don't want to interfere with domestic use. This is what some people say as well.
Okay.
So you don't have that cost affecting.
It's a little bit of an erroneous argument. Yeah. It's now if you go back to excuse me, if you go back to what I just said earlier about growing the market.
Yes.
I'm not going to eat more. There's a limit to what I can do with cooking gas. I need to grow the use of LPG, so I can do it in auto gas. But I'm not necessarily advocating it. I'm using it as an example.
Yes.
If I grow the auto gas market and I use auto gas to double my LPG market in Nigeria, the problem I mentioned to you, this resonance disappears.
Okay.
It stabilizes. Okay. It's a deliberate policy issue.
Okay.
Yeah? But I'm not necessarily going down that line. So I will also be looking at liquefied natural gas for trucks. People don't notice it, but the number of LNG trucks is increasing quietly, but it's increasing. Okay. And there's a reason behind that as well. Right? I do a simple demonstration that I used to illustrate the problem so that people understand what it is. Your decision about what type of gas you use will vary depending on the parameters I give you. Right? So if you think we have time, I will do the illustration.
I would love to. We need to. It's very important. Yes.
Okay. Do you mind if I borrow your bottle?
That's fine.
Okay. So this is an LNG truck.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you to bring your powers of imagination in. This is a CNG truck. There's no water in it. It's all gas. I would need 5 of these actually.
Okay.
For one of these.
Okay.
Yeah. So my price here, okay, is 1 per truck.
Okay.
Okay. My price is 1 per truck. I need 5 of them to make this. But my price here is 10. So this is 5 in total. For the same energy unit, this is 10.
Okay.
If my customer is right here, factory gate, which one will you go for? It's 5 or 10.
5 or 10.
Mm-hmm. Cost.
So just to be sure again, this is 10, but you just require 1.
Yes.
This is 5, but you require 5.
It's 1, but I require 5, making a total.
1,
yes.
But you require 5.
Yes.
And this is where the gate is, where
my customer is right on my boundary.
Right on the boundary.
Yeah. So do you spend 5 or do you spend 10?
So it depends on...
it's not a trick question. Yes. I'm going to change the parameters.
What would I do if I'm a customer?
Yes.
From a customer point of view, I'll go with the cheapest.
Yes, so you go with 5.
Yes.
So the decision is CNG every single time.
Yes.
Okay. I now need to move to Kano.
It's what would last me longer.
No. I need to move to Kano. I haven't even talked about lasting longer, right? Okay. That's its second parameter.
Okay.
Right? I now need to move to Kano. And my cost of transport to Kano is 5 per truck. So this goes from 10 plus 5.
Okay.
This goes 1 plus 5 is 6. In 5 places is 30. So now my cost of energy is 30.
Okay.
My cost of energy here is 15.
15.
What would you go for?
15.
Yes. So your decision changes as the distance increases.
Distance change, yes.
Then there are other parameters in terms of, look, the sheer convenience of running one truck as opposed to several trucks.
Yes.
Then the fact that, look, with this, I can do that and I can empty this because it's a liquid.
Yes.
But I can't do that with a gas.
You can't take out
I can't take out the content.
Yes.
So all these, there are about 4 parameters, but the obvious one to actually use to demonstrate to people is the distance issue and the energy density. So your decision will change. So it's not a one sum
one size fits all.
One size fits all, right? You have to look at the scenario.
Yes.
Right? So you look at the scenario and then you say, in this situation, CNG is better. In that situation, LNG is better. In that situation, LPG is better.
Okay.
Right.
Amazing. That was very useful.
So
I'll take that and I'll take it from, I know you're playing in that already, Asiko, a lot. And I know there will be a lot of things you don't want to disclose since you're about to fly, or are you willing to, and how you're playing in that. We would love to know that as well. Anything you're comfortable at the moment.
Yeah. There's nothing proprietary. If it's proprietary, I won't talk about it. But if it's not proprietary, I'm happy to talk about it.
Yes. Yeah. So how are you playing and changing that, and for the average Nigerian? Because now things are expensive. People are
Yes.
seeing the use more and more, the use of changing, converting, even making those decisions early.
Yes.
Companies now are thinking different.
Yes.
You know, it's not even from the EV side. Everyone is
Yes.
reevaluating everything they're doing now.
Yes.
So how is Asiko playing in this?
So we have always prided ourselves on, I'd say, technical expertise and know-how and being ahead of the pack in that. And we're not going out and saying, oh, we've got the smarts just for having it. We want to apply it to deliver more efficient energy.
Okay.
Right? So understanding what I just said to you is part of it, but we will educate everybody on that. But natural gas is cheaper. We have to find ways to get it to the market more efficiently. LPG in certain instances is better. So for the right location, we'll supply you with LPG, and we will advise you that LPG is better. We have inquiries from cell phone sites, customers who have cell phone sites, right? And they moved from diesel to gas.
Okay.
And their uptime is better because people are not stealing their diesel, right? There's an anecdote to all of that. But people are not stealing their diesel, so their uptime is better. Then they hear that CNG is better, they want to do CNG. But it isn't easy to move these heavy packs of very little gas to those sites. CNG is not going to be appropriate for them. If PNG runs past them, yes. Then they now start to talk about LNG. And I just have to say, look, I can tell you without even breaking sweat, you don't want to go down that line, right? Because there are all these other aspects that you haven't considered, heat ingress, keeping the material cool, that will not make it work. Where am I going with that? We give our customers honest advice, not necessarily to win the business, but to make it better. If they go away and they do something else, they will eventually find their way back to us and say, you know what? Actually, those guys told us the right thing. Yes. We just didn't believe them, right? And we've seen a number of that going forward. So we are true to the narrative, right? People will then say, we can take Asiko's word to the bank. And that matters a lot more. So building trust with customers, it's painfully slow, but it pays in the end.
Long term.
Making sure that they also benefit from that knowledge and the application of that knowledge. So now, we brought in dual fuel engines, natural gas and LPG generators.
Okay. Yes.
They've been sitting in a container for the last, God knows, year and a bit. Why? Because Nigerians don't want to, they're more expensive.
Yeah.
They're more expensive than diesel. Yes. So they don't want to pay for it. And if diesel carried on, diesel was about twice the price of gas, right?
Yes.
So the savings were going to take a while. Then all of this stuff happens with the Straits of Hormuz. Diesel goes to 4 times more expensive than gas. At that point in time, everybody's now knocking in. But you said you had generators. We actually brought those generators in for a contract with the bank, and the bank reneged after 5 years of proof of concept. So we terminated the proof of concept, and we left the engines. Right now, we're putting them into telecoms companies, into hospitals, into live style type of places, maybe cinemas, those kind of places, because the cost of running diesel has become astronomical. Yes. But these are decisions that are forced on people. How much more when they start to make it by themselves, So how does Asiko operate? We want to deliver a service, not just necessarily sell you a commodity, right? And it's that service provision that eventually builds trust with our customers.
Okay, we could stay all day. So I want to I call them quick fire questions. Okay, it might be off, it might be different, but in your opinion, what one African country would surprise the world with clean energy, in the clean energy sector? What one African country would you say is? I know you're patriotic and say Nigeria, but...
Wow. Yeah. That is a very good question. If I'm sticking with sub-Saharan Africa, I think it might be somewhere from East Africa.
I keep hearing a lot about East Africa in terms of doing business and... Because
they don't come with they're a lot more... they've gone through the service side. So East Africa, Upton now would have been tourism-based.
Yeah.
So it's a service-based economy. They understand all of that kind of stuff. They didn't come through the Nigeria sudden wealth,
yes.
Right? New money kind of situation. So East Africa, professionally, are a bit more disciplined.
Okay.
And therefore, when they put that into industry, right, then you say, I mean, all these telcos, the banking apps and so on, first originated out of East Africa, but it's exploded this side of the world, right? So I would say that it might be an East African company that surprises us in clean energy.
Okay, so to that, in Africa, what opportunity would you say is the either most underrated or things people don't really spot in terms of doing business in Africa?
I will call it 3: moving people around, tourism, very underrated. If I ask a lot of people around, people in this room, how many times have we crossed the border to go and spend time in another African country? So tourism is one, and with tourism comes other things. And I'll go in terms of order of significance. Technology, right? Okay. I think technology will help us do better trade together. And topmost, we are energy poor. We're energy deficit across everywhere. So energy has to be number one, in that. And for me, those 3.
Okay. So, because of time, I'm really intrigued in your leadership journey and how you've... So I'm going to ask some quick questions on leadership.
Okay.
Right? Vision or execution?
Ooh, nice. I'd say execution. You can't get to vision without execution. I'd say execution.
Execution first.
Yeah.
So irrelevant of what the vision is, you think execution. I know it's hand in hand.
Yes.
What would you take from someone sits in front of you, do an interview for someone says...
Oh, if that's what you're asking. Having 20 people with vision is pointless. I'd rather take 20 people with execution.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. What quality would you say for a great leader that is needed? I know there's not one, but what would you take as a priceless one?
Maybe as you were asking the question, I was trying to filter words, and the one that comes to me is empathy. The one that comes to me is empathy, right? And I don't necessarily mean soft. I just mean empathy. You need to understand what affects people, and even if you're driving people, right? You don't always get it right. Right. I wouldn't say I'm the most empathetic if that's not where I'm driving at, but I'd say that you need to have that, because otherwise you won't have the followership.
So leading with empathy. What's the biggest threat to leadership today?
People don't trust their leaders. They believe there's an ulterior motive to what they're doing, and often there is, actually, in terms of, I'm talking in the political space, right? So you need sincerity, and if you say you're going to do something, you must do it. You must do it. For me, my word is my bond, pure and simple. At that point in time, if they hear, did he say that? Did she say that? And then you say, right.
Trust.
Right. The trust there is...
It just reminds me of what my former MD used to say. There's a word she says in almost every meeting.
I know. I don't know the word, but I know, yes.
Say-do ratio.
What you say and what you do.
The say-do ratio. She says it all the time and says, listen, the more you tell me something and you don't do it, that ratio reduces.
Yes.
The more you do that, then I have trust in you.
Precisely.
So I can go to bed and say, listen, I trust Dami will do this.
Precisely.
But over time, if you start dropping the ball, then you're getting me to micromanaging you. So it's because of the say-do ratio is reducing. So you just reminded me of that, and it's true, that trust, and it's vice versa too. So to the
if it's doing you're talking to us, then I will steal it from her.
Thank you so much. Before we leave, and I consider myself as a young person. No one should tell me otherwise. I'm not old yet. For the young professionals and the people coming into the energy sector, what would be your one advice? Say they're in college, say they're in uni. Let's start with uni people, then go to people actually working. What would be that one advice you give everyone? What would you say they should do to be successful? And it's not everyone that will be an entrepreneur. Those that will work, those that will be an entrepreneur, those that will pivot.
Either way, yes.
Either way.
Yes.
So what would be the advice?
It's a double-barreled word is what I would do. I'm a Mason, and the phrase that comes to mind is patience and industry.
Patience and industry.
Yes. With patience and industry, you must be patient to acquire the skills. You must be industrious, right?
Okay.
And with those two, you will end up in a situation where overall, whatever you choose to do, whether you choose to be a welder, whether you choose to be a vulcanizer, right? If you're patient to learn the skills, right? You're industrious enough, right? I went to him and my tire was fixed. Not that I went to him and 5 miles down the road, the word will spread. At some point in time, your customer ratio will reduce, right? But even if I don't come to you for 5 years, I will be talking about you for 5 years. And I will end up referring more people to you, right?
Yes.
And therefore, your clientele will build, right?
Okay.
As opposed to you think, if you do a quick job. So for me, it's not a single piece of advice. It's patience and industry. You must be patient, and in that time, you must develop yourself, and you must be industrious. And you must apply it.
That's great. I'll take that too. Finally, we ask every interviewer one question. It's called, what's your energy hack?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what wakes you up in the morning?
Oh, that's why you got the...
What's that one thing that gives you the edge over the next person that's competing with you? What's that thing that keeps you going, that helps you, that wakes you up and gives you that drive to be successful? So what's your energy hack? I'm
a very driven individual, and I'm driven not by what the next person is doing. I'm driven by what I said I would do. Pure and simple.
Okay.
I said to you earlier, my word is my bond. It's not just to third parties, it's to me. I say I'm going to do something. I am not going to go to bed before I have done it. It pisses my wife off completely, right? She says she's going to do something, and she says, what I said I was going to do, why is it on your to-do list? Well, because she said it out, she's voiced it out.
Okay.
It needs to be done.
So you police it.
Yes. Have you spoken to your mother? Have you called your mom and so on? Right. But those kind of things just keep me awake. So that's what it keeps me awake and it gets me up in the morning. It's what I said I would do. And I am very particular about that. Right. So that's my own driving set. I said I will get to this point. Right. I am behind. I must keep on going.
Determination, driven. Okay. Lastly, if anyone wants to get to know you or follow you on your social media,
you won't find me.
You're not social media. On LinkedIn at least.
Oh, what's okay.
On LinkedIn or something.
Okay, on LinkedIn.
I don't mind you, like whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
Saying, I know you've not looked at the camera.
Yeah.
This camera.
So this time.
And just if they want to follow, it could be Asiko.
Asiko is on social media.
So Asiko social media.
Yes.
We'll obviously put it on the screen as
yes,
well.
Yes. So please do. Chika will not be happy if I don't.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
She's messaged me already. But if there's anything you want to tell us that they can find you or find Asiko.
I'm on LinkedIn. I don't take myself extremely seriously, right? In that, so I will join social media. I have been thinking, at some point in time.
About this.
I will join, but it will be on other matters. It will just be on other matters, not necessarily about life or not necessarily about the energy space. Yeah.
Well, this will be on YouTube, on Instagram, on every social media platform. So they would, sure you'll be on social. So we'd like to thank you. Thank you so much for, there's a lot more.
No,
if I show you the questions, there's a lot more.
As you said, we could be here forever.
I know we'll get a lot of feedback from the audience, and a lot of our other shows we've had a lot of feedbacks. We'll definitely let you know.
Okay.
And maybe who knows, in season 3, season 4, we get you back to in your comfort zone. This time we'll come to your office and have that. So we would like to appreciate you. In Energy Hack for coming through. I know we took a large portion of your time. We know you're busy.
It's fine. I promise to.
I know you will love it, and our audience will also love it. So thank you. Thank you guys from the Energy Hack podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And see you on the next episode of the Energy Hack podcast.